Shumai, and welcome to Two Welsh Dads, the podcast where two proud Welsh fathers talk life, parenting, and everything in between. I'm Steffan, and I'm joined by my fellow dad and friend Glyn, and also Jack. This is our 15th episode, so grab a cuppa and join us as we share who we are, why we're doing this, and what you can expect from the journey ahead. Shumai, pawb.
Shumai, I know three Welsh dads yet again. Are we lucky?
Three Welsh dads. Shumai, Jack.
Yeah,
how's everything?
Good. Pleased to be here. Thank you for the invite. Honoured.
So we got Jack Rees from, how about you introduce yourself? Because you know exactly who you are, and then I can probably go on to how we met.
Well, most days I know who I am. So I'm Jack. Work with the Flying Start parenting team. I'm a dad support worker, so supporting dads within the Flying Start areas in Carmarthenshire. And we've really randomly, I think that we were in school together for a year in Carmarthen, and somehow then crossed paths 20 years later. So
Great.
to get more into sort of how we've crossed paths again, Glyn.
I know, it is crazy. When we met up last year, we met up last year in the autumn, or was it this year in the spring?
This
It was
year, I
early
think,
spring.
this year.
Yeah, it was early
Yeah.
spring. It was still chilly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I got in contact with you because moving back to Wales from Scotland, I was intrigued to see what was going on there for dad support because I'd been part of stuff up in Scotland, and I just wanted to know what was around back in Wales, back in Carmarthenshire, and somehow we managed to get talking, and I turned up to one of your amazing events, and you reminded me who you were, and this flashback memory came in of just standing in the lift, you, me, and Mark Phillips. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Small world.
You didn't click straight away.
Yeah.
Back to school days. So yeah, it
Yeah.
was so nice to, again, small world and being back, and just seeing the fantastic things that is going on in Carmarthenshire and in Wales. And the more we kind of do this, the more people we talk to. And it's just great that that more people are just normalizing talking and having those spaces that are available for men to feel free and feel comfortable reaching out for support when they need it, or have those spaces and places to go to kind of foster the parental journey, which is really important. And I guess all of us know that all too well, being fathers ourselves. It's a really key milestone.
What did you get into it then, Jack? How did you get into it in the first place then, Jack? I'm intrigued. Let us know.
To be honest, it just came about. So my history first came out of school. I did sort of bits and bobs, but I ended up working in education. So I worked as a teaching assistant in a school in Carmarthen for about 6 years. Then went on and was lucky enough to be part of the WIU rugby program, the hubs, the schools. So I did that at a couple of schools, Ysgol Bro Pedyr in Lampeter, and then Ysgol Estrada. And then sort of that came to a close. And again, it was random bits around COVID time, it was just about sort of keeping my head above the water and finding a few jobs just to keep us going. And then I found a job initially with Team Around the Family as a support worker. And I thought, you know what, this sounds really interesting. It's intriguing. And I thought, I'll give this a go. No, not expecting really much to come from it. And I got it, and I enjoyed working with that team. And then a year later, within the same office, this role as a dad's worker came up, and I thought, you know what, put my hat in the ring. This sounds really interesting. There is not many things going on in Carmarthenshire at the moment, or at the time, there wasn't much going on with dads. I thought, let's give it a go. It's a clean slate, something that I can just try some ideas and see what works, and if it does, it would be great. And it's kind of just snowballed from there, really, to be honest.
How cool is that? That's so cool. Excellent story. So yeah, I would imagine you being one of the only people dads out there that does this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I've been lucky enough that I have sort of met along the way the last couple of years. I've met dads workers in other areas. We also have a great team, like the parenting team. They are all female, but I get a great team behind me when it comes to putting these things on. Um, but apart from that, there wasn't much. There's a dad's working in Port, male
Mm.
workers, in statutory. You've got a lot of male social workers, a lot of men in those types of roles. But
Yeah.
prevention and working with supporting dads from early on, there wasn't much. We're lucky
Wow.
enough now that we've recently just appointed another dad's worker with another one starting in January as well. So
It's cool.
it's good news. Yeah.
Hey, it's just going to go up and up and up, I bet.
I
Yeah,
hope
given
so.
time.
Yeah, I hope so. Hope so. If
100%.
Graham keeps coming to the groups, we'll be all right.
Yeah, definitely. That's good. So what kind of things do you put on then? For you?
Well, day to day, we just run parenting groups as a team. We offer each other all areas in the Flying Start area, mainly the towns in Carmarthenshire, Carmarthen and Cynnechi. And they can vary really from, you know, early years, nurturing, brain development, through to
Oh, that's
then
cool.
a lot
What
of
about you?
additional learning needs
Mm.
stuff. That's a huge thing at the moment. Our Discovering Your Child's World program now has really caught on. We've got a lot of people attending that. But we also run different groups that sort of look at building self-esteem, self-confidence within parents as well. So it varies and it depends on the needs of where we're going then, really. Um,
Awesome, buddy. That's really cool. Yeah, it is good. I work with Flying Star quite a few times, but
okay.
it's always with the young kids, doing fun, sort of story and rhyme time and that kind of
Oh,
thing.
brilliant. Oh,
Yeah,
brilliant.
it's a lot of fun. Flying Star, a good bunch of people.
Do you know,
Yeah,
we're very lucky. Talking about the other teams, we work really closely with the sort of the early language team, the speech and language team, the health visitors, the childcare settings. It is really a massive team effort, and we do sort of try and support each other as much as we can.
yeah, that's awesome.
Out
That's cool.
out of the perspective of a new time father and dad, can both of you, one of you, explain what is Flying Start? And if I was interested, how on earth would I even start to look into getting involved with it? From a perspective,
Yeah.
I've just found out I'm pregnant, or my partner's pregnant, and you just think back to that moment of just going, I know nothing.
Yeah,
Those scary days.
Yeah.
those were scary days. Those were scary days. What? Sorry, yeah, you carry on, Jack.
When the health visitor will be able to tell you because the Flying Start, it's always growing. So initially starts as a pilot for um, families who are living in certain areas in Wales, depending on the postcode, you'd get sort of childcare offers, places in settings, work with the team within Flying Start, so all those strands that I just mentioned. And it's growing and growing. So the expansion at the moment is finding more areas. So the way to really, if you were moving from another area and you hadn't sort of met the health visitor yet, there probably would be um, through the Family Information Service. There's a postcode checker on their website, but also the Flying Start app to download, and all the information is shared on there as well.
Because, yeah, am I right in saying it's a bit of a postcode lottery as well? Whereas
It-
certain areas wouldn't be able to get access to it.
yeah, I
Um,
think that eventually it will come across to more areas, but it
yeah.
can vary from what area you're in. Yeah.
Interesting. Encompasses everything child support in Wales.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything, a one-stop shop. And if I was a new time dad, and I wanted to look into it, is there like a website?
Family Information Service, yeah, they've got all the like social media. Recently started an Instagram account. They're on
All
Facebook,
right.
but they do have a website as well. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, okay, so they're starting to get onto socials, so you can
Starting a
probably,
branch out, a
yeah.
lot like that's where people are getting their information. So I think we're starting,
I know
starting to
someone mentioned the yellow pages to me the days, and I was like,
Yeah.
does that still exist?
I
a lot of
don't
people.
think so. Can't remember the last time I've seen one.
I know.
Like,
And even if it does exist, I can imagine not many things are registered on there anymore.
probably not. Probably not.
Ah, oh,
Well,
no, that sounds
Jack,
fantastic.
it's been 15 years since I last spoke to you. Obviously, there's been a lot going on. Why don't you tell the viewers at home about your dadness?
So my dadness. So I'm dad of two. Um, my son Kai recently turned 8. My daughter Eva is 6. Yeah, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Them and my wife. It's hard to explain. When you're a dad's work and you just having that question, so it's just about seeing them being happy and thriving and just seeing those milestones, seeing those steps when when they get to a point and they've achieved something.
Yes.
I don't know, it's indescribable. It's really I should have a better answer than that, but I just love being with them.
Mm.
They make things better. So my family are everything to me. It's about sharing everything with them, and it doesn't really make sense when they're not there. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That's awesome to hear, Jack. Yeah, it's obvious that you're a very caring dad. And everything you just described, I can totally feel as well. Much rather spend time with them than doing anything else. I look forward to coming home just to spend time with them.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the
Mm.
best thing ever.
Even the ambiguity of not knowing what words to describe it with. I feel like any language hasn't quite cracked that
No, it's
word
true.
that
Yeah.
describes how it makes you feel, because it is
And
unique.
it transcends
Undescribableness. I
cultures.
don't know if that's right.
The pros and the cons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of
There are
interest, were
times.
you
There are times.
there are indeed. Out of interest, were you dad before you got the role? I guess both the because you started off generic kind of,
Yeah. No.
I
Yeah. I
guess,
was. Yeah.
education
I
role,
was. I
social
was.
care.
Yeah. Uh, was a
So you
dad. So 3 years. Kai would have been about 5 if I would have been about 3. Yeah.
Was there
Sounds like
anything
the
that you kind
perfect
of
role
got
for you
involved
then.
with when you were a dad? Sorry, Steph.
Sorry. Say that again.
Was there anything around when you were a dad, or
Do you know what? We were quite lucky, but I live in Port now, and the family centre there, fantastic. They do have a part-time dad's worker there that works a couple of
oh,
days,
fab.
and yeah, my kids
Right.
still ask um about them and going there, and it's still when it
Oh,
comes to half term, the first order is when we go to the family centre. We don't go there as often anymore, but it was a place that we definitely spend a lot of time as a family.
that's so cool. Because I'm just trying to think. My children, they live in Barry now. I'm trying to think if there's any sort of anything similar in this area. Granted, I haven't really made the conscious effort to go out and look for them. But yeah, there's nothing that springs to mind.
I th and I think that's it, isn't it? The things that's what I found, and this is probably one of the major sort of attractions of the role was to
Let people
give
know.
that opportunities because with mum groups, the baby and toddler groups, there are things on that straight away there's going to be something, and we
Yeah,
just don't
yeah,
have that
yeah.
for dads, and that was one of the main sort of reasons, and I think that's how me and Glyn really sort of got back in touch is through for the dads group itself, and trying to find spaces for fathers and not just fathers, grandfathers, uncles, male carers. Any sort of man to come and have the opportunities that everybody should have, really.
That's so
It's
cool.
on your point, Stefan. It is crazy how many amazing things are out there, but you have to like really search for them
You
because if you
do.
imagine they're
Yeah,
quite small teams, and of those teams, none of them are doing social media, none of them are doing marketing or anything like this. So
yeah.
it's kind of like word of mouth,
Do you have to do
even
your
though
own
they
marketing like
exist.
that?
Yeah, we're lucky that the Family Information Service, we work really closely with them, and everything that we have is going out on their
Goes through them,
social
yeah.
media. Yeah, they've
Nice.
been really good. Um, yeah, it's
Am
tough
I
going.
allowed?
It is because it's that's that's where people are getting their information from at the moment,
Yeah,
isn't it? It's
exactly.
all on, all
That's
on.
where I would, 9 times out of 10. That's where I'd be searching. You know, I was going to mention as well. I've got my own father's story time happening this Saturday in the Central Library. Just thought I'd do a shameless plug. So everybody out there, if you want to go down, please do. It'll be awesome. It'll be great fun. Yes,
What
carry on, Jack.
what are you
No, no, I think
doing?
that's brilliant. That's fantastic. I want to know more.
Yeah.
Ah,
I want to know more.
yes. Well, for usually we run it, or I run it on the last Saturday of every month. And it's
Mhm.
just a great way for dads to come down who couldn't normally come in during the week because they've got the usual story time and answer story during the week time when they could otherwise be working. So this is run on a Saturday morning and it's open for everyone, but it's specifically tailored or aimed at dads. And this Saturday we're running a special men's mental health month. Dads do story time, and yeah, hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit more with the other dads that come, and also it'll be a great way for them just to let their hair down a bit and relax and have a nice open space to talk and have fun with their kids.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Have you got any tricks up your sleeve to facilitate those chats, or is there anything might want to
I was going
pick
to keep
Jack's
it
brain
quite.
for?
Yeah. Well, I've got a craft planned
Mhm.
where I'm going to be getting the kids to color in little mustaches, and then they're going to glue them on sticks, and they're going to have mustaches. My plan was to keep it fairly light and just have general chats with people. I didn't want to put anyone on the spot, because it can be hard sometimes to talk, but keep it as light-hearted and open as possible.
Well,
That's an
you,
interesting
yeah,
point because I think what me and Glenn have sort of like in our conversations, I think it's about creating that safe space for them, isn't it? It's about finding like those conversations will happen if the space is available and they have somebody there that can is willing to listen. So I think that's fantastic.
Definitely. Thanks,
creating
Jack.
spaces is so important. We chat about this in lots of different weird and wonderful ways. Well, I think I have anyway. It's just if you create the right space, then these things that you think are going to be really strange for people and you think people aren't going to feel comfortable doing,
Yeah,
all of a
totally.
sudden it's just normal. It's just about creating spaces. Like I know, I'm pretty sure we chatted before. How like you go to different countries and it's saunas, and it's just totally normal, and you feel comfortable doing it just because it's everyone
It's
isn't
considered
acting
normal.
weird. But if you're in like a changing room in this country, it feels really weird because everyone's feeling uncomfortable, right? So
Yeah,
it's the same sort of thing about talking. It's if you can facilitate that space and make people feel normal, and everyone
yeah.
starts just finding talking about their emotions, talking about mental health normal, then all of a
Mm.
sudden it's just embedded in the next generation's like social norms, isn't it?
I kind of feel as well, try not to add or put too much pressure on people to talk, and let it just happen as naturally as possible. Because having, putting people on the spot sometimes would have the opposite effect. And that's certainly not what we want to do. You mentioned about the saunas. For some reason, what popped into my mind was just going to the pub. Obviously, not so much now, but yeah, would that be a time when would that be a space that maybe people were more comfortable talking in, or not so much? You think?
I don't know.
No,
My thoughts are always it has its place, 100% has its place.
I think
But to
alcohol
have
helps.
that's one of the barriers though, isn't it? To
Yeah,
get to those deeper meaningful
next
chats.
level
There's not
conversations.
just superficial talking about, it's pretty tough at the moment. Going like that level deeper to
Big time.
actually
Yeah,
it's hard. And you also I find doing it under the influence of drugs, of alcohol, you just it doesn't have the same impact because you can instantly brush it off and say, "Oh, I was drunk." That's the sort of thing. So it
Yeah.
has its
Yeah.
place, and it's
I
definitely
feel like,
part of that package. But I don't
yeah.
think it's the right place to facilitate
I do kind of
normal.
feel like when you do hear somebody who's somewhat drunk and they're talking quite deep emotional topics, I think there's probably an element of truth there, and it's probably coming from somewhere, a source, as they say, no smoke without fire. Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
diverting the conversation here, but yeah, safe space to talk. That's
It's
important.
actually really, really run. I actually had a similar conversation this week with somebody else,
yeah,
and it was along those lines. Where do men go to have these conversations if it's not in those spaces? And one of the things that did come up was the pub, and the other
mm,
one was like a sports team, a rugby team, or a
yeah,
football
Yeah,
team, where you come together. Again, there is that element of you do go a social side as well, but whether that is the space where and again, it definitely, like as a rugby coach, rugby player all my life, it definitely has a place.
yeah,
And I see Stefan's point. There is that element that maybe that alcohol adds, and it allows people to be free. I think it's just suppose the response that they get. You would hope that is picked up on, and
true.
then maybe the
yeah.
following conversation, maybe the important one, it opens the door. But whether that leads to something, or maybe it's
Because
That's
usually,
a
sometimes when you're
very good
talking to somebody
point.
drunk, the other person's quite drunk as well, so they might just instantly forget.
it
Um,
could be.
could happen.
True, or laugh at you, or brush it off. Which I guess
Well,
I'm
maybe.
guessing that's why you try to, or at least I took it like that when you said that point, Jack. Which I was like, yeah, you definitely. If you're spilling your guts and all of a sudden your best mate is just laughing at you drunk, you're like, oh, that makes me feel worse.
Oh,
So yeah,
yeah,
creating that space is really important, and almost facilitating that space yourself as well. That you need to
what
almost
do you mean
say,
by
I need you
facilitating
to
the?
be serious here. Um, I need you to
Yeah,
hear me or whatever, so that you don't get the wrong reaction.
yeah,
It's quite
yeah.
hard. Out of
That's
interest,
incredibly. That's so hard.
it
I
is.
need you to be
It is.
serious. I need you to listen to me. I don't think I
Yeah,
can do that.
Whereas
Yeah,
men, we're not programmed like that, are we? When things get a little bit serious or a little bit deeper, that's when it becomes a little bit awkward, and
yeah,
vulnerability as a man becomes difficult to deal with. It's we it's obviously November mental health, and we're talking about that space. I think there's this idea that men don't talk. I think it's the other way around. I think maybe men, we need to listen more. I think
mm,
men talk
wow.
and talk. I think men maybe just need to be listening to each other a bit more, maybe.
Jack, I think you've hit the nail on the head. 100% agree. That's what I've always thought. I think people need to listen to men. Yeah, I think in general, lots more, because often they do get laughed off and brushed
Mm.
under the rug.
And what I mean, I do mean this. I think men, we need to listen to men. Men need to sort of look out for each other, and because it's tough going, especially at the moment. For families, life is it's tough going for some people. It's um,
Certainly is. Certainly is. Yeah, especially financially these days. Whew,
yeah. It's,
yikes. It is hard times. Yeah, 100% agree. 100%.
without sounding like turning into an interview, can you think of a time, Jack, that you've managed kind of a space or an individual, and you know think of about a time where perhaps you haven't done as well as you'd liked, but what did you learn from that now has kind
it's a
of
good
changed
question.
your practice?
I have to remember that if I ever interview anybody, I like.
It's a good
um,
question.
To tone.
um, without going into too much, I won't go into
Yeah,
any
yeah.
detail, but I remember the first time when I would work with a family, and you just got the feeling that didn't go well, and I think it's about accepting, like, and it's about looking back and actually, what could I have done differently there? If I had done this, how could I have a conversation? And sometimes I think actually being open and honest and saying, "Do you know what? I don't think I handled that very well. Last time I saw you, I don't think did I handle it? Did it? Maybe I'm making it up. Maybe I've got this wrong. But when I said this or when I did this, did that affect you in a negative way? And if it did, I apologize. But how could that conversation have gone better? And I think
I
that,
guess that's how people learn, though, isn't it?
yeah, I think we just
That's how.
sometimes we're afraid to just to sort of look back and just say, do you know what? I got that wrong, maybe. How can I help me make me a better person, make me a better worker? How can I do that differently so it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, exactly. But it's like something that we're not really hardwired to do. It's changing, certainly at university level. Reflective practice is embedded in all learning that I now take part in. I don't know about schools, whether that's changing, but I can just thinking back in school how terrified you would be to raise your hand or say anything unless
You mean
you
like a
knew without
question?
a shadow of a doubt that you were correct.
Yeah.
Because, learning was being perfect all the time. And if you were perfect, then you weren't learning. Or at least that's how I saw school back in
Yeah,
the
no,
day.
definitely. That's the what I remember. Yeah, that's when I think back.
Yeah.
That's definitely how I remember it. The same,
But it's totally the opposite, isn't it? Because when I said that question, I could think of times where I thought, oh yeah, I didn't do as well I'd like to, or maybe I just didn't create that space early enough, or even ask the person, what do you need out of this? And just because I feel like one of the traits of humans is that we try and fix things. Maybe men more so, you just try and fix things. And I remember I used to do that all the time. And that's something I fight internally now, of just switching off when someone opens up, of just curing them instead of trying to go, do this or
I
do
know
that,
more
go
than
for a
you.
run. You'll feel
Yeah.
better.
yeah.
Have you
Do
thought
you
about eating salads?
and I do feel quite lucky in that sense because as a team, our team, we have, many of us are trauma informed trained, and we regularly sort of come together and we do check in, we go over, what's happening with individual cases. We go through things, and it's a way of not holding on to some of those things and letting it fester, but it also is to look at good practice, best practice, and see how we can, develop
Yeah.
things and move things forward. Yeah, we
Sounds
are
like a
quite lucky in
wonderful
that sense.
team. Sounds like a fab team you have there, Jack.
No, it is. It's yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great team. The whole, a lot of the people we
Mm,
work with, the teams around us, it's a good place to work. Yeah.
it's really good. Going back to what you said, Lynn, I can also think of many a times where I think, right, I could have done that better. I could have done this better. But in the back of my mind as well, I think, yes, this is needed. I need to change, essentially. I need to get better. So I think, yeah, it's a double-edged sword. So it can be, if you can tailor it for good, then yeah, a little bit of pressure is always handy in the back pocket,
Mm.
just to
It's a
drive
balancing
you
act,
forward.
though, because you
Yeah,
don't put
yeah.
yourself down. It's almost like reflection without judgment, because this is where I am now. This is the knowledge that I have, and that I excelled at that basis. But now I have more knowledge, and
I
now I
feel like
have
that comes
more
with age, doesn't it?
experience. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what wisdom
Yeah,
is, isn't it?
yeah,
It's learned experiences, and that certainly is true. The more experiences, but the more you proactively seek those experiences, you can gain
yeah. You've got to
wisdom
want to change
faster.
as well. You're gonna have to go out of your way sometimes to become better, learn these new skills, and adapt and change.
Mm,
Because ultimately, that's gonna force you to grow as a human being. I would say.
yeah. Sorry to go back a second, but what is trauma informed practice exactly, Jack?
Um, Trauma Informed, we were lucky enough, a few of us, our team. It's a course run by Trauma Informed Wales, that look at how you build relationships. It is initially started with school, trauma school, but it's working out down to the communities, how you can build confidence within yourself to have, sometimes quite difficult conversations. It looks at your own um, your own understanding of your own background, understanding what the triggers are for you, knowing the effects that some of these sort of events have had on young people, and how that can sort of manifest as you go on, and I'm sure the work you've done with the teenagers, that those some of those behaviors are linked back to those early experiences. Um, so it's about looking at how we, sometimes trauma is a strong word, but
Mm.
sometimes trauma, there's big trauma, but there's also trauma with a small t. Those little things that most people would be able to maybe just shrug off, or if you
Yeah.
had an emotionally available adult, somebody that's there with you to guide you through it, the world doesn't seem so bad. But when you don't have that at that age, then it can have some long-term effects.
Ah, that we've spoken at length about trauma, and again, I feel like the English language, the Welsh language, doesn't have a better word for something
Trauma.
that is still impactful, but isn't what people currently think of when you say trauma. Because when you think
Yeah.
about the word, it's such a big thing
Yeah.
that people are scared to use. Because you're like,
Seems like
oh,
an
I haven't
aggressive word in a
experienced
way.
trauma.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you know
But
that you just made me think of something else actually, and that's something that really stood out from the training was, it's big words, and sometimes we're afraid. Like sometimes, we talk about making space for people. Sometimes is it that the person doesn't want to talk, or we just can't? Are we ready to hear those big feelings? Are we ready to
mm,
hear that big revelation? Are we, and sometimes it may be that big trauma, but it might be a small one. And then the other side, are we able to allow that person the space to allow them to, this is my experience.
Open up.
It doesn't matter what you think. This is what I went through, and this is how it affected me. How am I going to sit here? And I'm going to sit here with you, and I'm here. I'm just here in your safe space, and allow you the opportunity to do whatever you need to do in that moment.
I think
I
that
think
is
you
the
touched on something
ultimate.
pretty great there. Sorry, carry on again.
I was pretty great there, but I feel like that is the ultimate test of parenthood when your child can come to
Yeah,
you
that's true.
and
Yeah.
tell you that you did something that had a really negative, profound effect, and you can sit there and hold that space without going, well, it was because I was doing X, Y, and Z, and just listen.
Mm,
Oh, I'm not
yeah.
looking forward to that day.
Mhm.
Ah. So, were you saying stuff?
Well, I was just going to mention that something I've probably not given it much thought, the actual word trauma. Of course, you can get small traumas, you can get big traumas. And I do think you are correct, Lynn, in what you said about the English language, not having a better word, for trauma, because it covers a lot of different things.
What is trauma in Welsh? Look it up.
Don't know. I have no idea.
I wasn't expecting any credit that those kind of
Pop
questions.
quiz. Um,
Traumatic.
Traumatic. Really?
I could have guessed. I could have
Like,
guessed. I
exactly.
could have guessed.
Okay, traumatic.
But I
Oh,
think that's pretty telling that
Mhm.
trauma, yeah, trauma.
trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Trauma.
I guess the we didn't have a word for it pre-Latin Roman
Yeah,
invasion.
just copied the English word.
But we won't get into that. We didn't need a word before the Romans arrived.
Yeah.
We are.
Ah,
Do you know what? That's made me think now. Just thinking about sort of what we spoke about, before we started, the Welsh language. So you obviously, Glenn, came in and ran a session in my Don't Dad Alone group,
yeah,
which is the group that I created to bring dads together. But it's Paid a bod yn dad wrth dy hun. I could not find a shorter translation Don't Dad Alone seems quite catchy, but then when I tried to translate it, it was difficult to find something that could link it. But yeah, essentially, it does what it says on the tin. Don't be by yourself. Don't do it alone. You need a
Yeah,
community support around you. So yeah,
I think Al had stolen our previous guest, the best Welsh. Sit my dad. I think that
yeah.
he
But I
nailed it
have
on
I've
that.
seen
Yeah,
I've seen a couple of. I think that's he sounds like a really great bloke. Doing some great work. North Wales, I believe, is
North
North Wales.
Wales, but yeah, so
Yeah,
active on social media about
brilliant. Yeah,
like just lowering stigma. Today, I think he was posting about
Particular cancer.
checking out, what was it? Testicular cancer, wasn't it? Well,
yeah.
checking out your testicles, which I was like, God, all these things are so important, aren't they? About,
Mm.
opening up and just talking about these things. Because, yeah, it's the whole package about being,
It is the whole package. Yeah,
yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something that all of us, at some point get worried about. And
We
having
should probably all
spaces that you
do
can
as
open
well.
up and talk about it. Sorry,
Mm.
Something we should all do as well.
check your balls.
Check them. 100%.
Yeah.
Mm.
And other places. Uh, no, just normalizing talking about these and reaching out
Yeah.
and, if because that is such an
What
anxious
is?
moment, isn't it? If you find something out and then just
Yeah.
bottling that up while you're waiting for test results, whatever, you got to let that
Gosh.
out somehow.
Yeah.
Whew. 100%. I feel like, yeah, I'd be guilty of that, bottling it up. I feel so, I wouldn't know how to approach people. Even even you guys, even Glyn, somebody I've known for years. I find it probably really hard. So
Mm,
something I could definitely work on opening up. That's why this podcast is good. It's a good open space.
it is a fantastic, but yeah, it's something that I'm guilty of. Even in the last month, um, I I spoke to my dad about something, and I, by the time I spoke to him about it, it wasn't a big deal. But in that moment, I was like, why the hell didn't I reach out to, you, Stefan, or anyone else who I see more regularly sometimes than him? And it's just that moment of I've got so many other people in my community, but I'm still not comfortable in talking about those moments where I was really frustrated. And I just find it really difficult that day. And I just needed to ring someone and I couldn't, which is so weird.
You couldn't.
So yeah, it's
Dude,
it's
you could always call me. You know that, right?
I know,
Yes.
that's the thing. I do know that, but still, even doing that as someone who I feel like I've got
Um,
to a point totally comfortable, reaching out and
I
being
couldn't either.
vulnerable is still so hard.
What about your wife? Would you open up and would you call her?
She
I think,
knows. She
yeah.
there's a hierarchy of like talking, which I also think is important. You talk about the
Yeah.
pub. There's like
Mm,
there's a level of like the closer proximity people are to you, the less of an impact talking has, to me anyway. Might be different,
yeah.
but if I talk to my wife, it's one layer. But what I get back from that, because she knows everything, it's not as rewarding. And then
Yeah. I know
like
what you mean.
one step apart, maybe family, you talk, but it's that
Mm.
layer that they know everything as well. And then it's almost the further you go, which is why counseling and talking to people who like the dad support groups where you're talking to people outside that kind of knowledge circle and strangers is even more vulnerable and
Big time.
somehow more powerful.
Why is that?
Do, do you think that's because it's the old I'm the dad, I need to be seen to be strong. So if I put this on the people closest to me, that's not my role. If I can say it to a stranger, then like okay, well it's out, but it'll maybe never have to be dealt with. It's just getting off my chest rather than, do you know what, going to be vulnerable with the person that's closest to you. That is because then that becomes a thing, that becomes an issue that needs to be dealt with.
yeah, I don't feel that way because for me, getting vulnerable in front of, say, my wife these
It's easy.
days hasn't always been easy, but these days I feel like we've got to a point where I can very easily,
She
and
probably
I
knows
can
before you do.
100%, 100%, 100%. But
Mm.
and the same with other family members. There's almost like I
They
wouldn't
know.
say there's other complex dynamics that go on with other family members that you can be vulnerable, but I feel like there's dynamics there that you don't feel fulfilled, if that makes sense, if that talks to you in any way. If they're going through stuff as well, it's just kind of like bashing off and like, yeah, yeah, it'll be fine. And then you can talk to friends are probably, I think, are really powerful.
I
Friends.
feel like friends are probably hardest as well, in a way.
But that's why it's mostly rewarding. And I think
Yeah, yeah, I
strangers
get
are
it.
really hard as
I get
well.
it. I'd be the same. My wife, I feel like she'd be the first person I'd call,
Yeah.
or if something bad happened, or if I needed help, or anything like that. Whereas I probably wouldn't call any of my friends about it ever.
And I think that's part of like releasing that is you have to be vulnerable to properly engage with that. Wherever it's been held in your body,
Once
you
you've hit
have
that
to
vulnerableness, that's
yeah,
when you feel almost
release.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I get it. I get it. It's harder though.
Yeah. And it's almost like the harder it again, I always go back to kind of gym analogies, etc., because they just make
Jim,
sense at
bro.
some level of like if you if I go for like a 1K run, I won't feel much because I'm much more used to going for longer runs. So if I push myself, there will be something that
More
feels
rewarding.
so
You feel,
much more rewarding. And that's
yeah,
like, so if it might be linked to that kind of same psychology that by going to that really vulnerable, scary place, that's where I can release that anxious energy, that negative energy easier. I have no idea. We need to invite a psychologist on. But that's
yeah.
that's that's my reflection.
I kind of feel like it was a really good analogy. Yeah, it's because you build it up in your mind to a certain extent. Say now, if I was talking to my wife, I probably wouldn't have built anything up in my own head, and I would just say words straight out of my head without even thinking. Whereas if I were to speak to a close friend, say, I probably thought about the conversation beforehand. I probably would have made up preset sentences and lines that I would say. I would get anxious about saying them. I'd overthink it, and that would cause me anxiety. And I feel like it's more energy expenditure. Going back to that gym analogy.
And
So,
actually, as you're talking there, Stefan, maybe it's
mm,
actually Jack's point as well. On
yeah,
top of this, is that the people who we tell in this to react differently because they are one step attached. So listening, your point earlier about we're not very good at listening, maybe that's what it is that
because they've
the
got the space
people
to
who,
listen.
yeah, they got the space to listen and they're not also intertwined in, the chaos or
No,
whatever's going on in your life. Maybe that's what it is. It's actually not so much vulnerability, it's actually talking to someone who has space to
listen.
listen about that.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I think it
We go with
sounds.
Jackson already.
Jack will know more than us.
Don't want to tell anybody. I'm just winging it at the moment.
Talk to your
We all
friends.
are.
Take a message. Talk to your friends. And
Yeah.
if yeah,
Listen to your friends. Listen to
yeah,
what they're saying.
listen. Yeah,
Listen, that's the take-home
yeah,
message today. Listen.
yeah. We forgot to do a mindful moment at the start as well.
Oh yeah. We do it at the end if you want.
Yeah, we can do it at the end. I guess we're drawing to the last one. Should we do Jack? Do you want to do your mindful moment that you introduced me to?
Yeah, if you'd like to, it's something that we do in the
Please
group.
do.
Did we
Yeah.
did we do it in the group when you joined us last?
And I stole it straight away because I loved it.
Which one do you remember off the top of your head what we did? To just make sure I
Uh,
don't use the same one.
so you introduced it as storms, but then you did games. You did games. That's the one you
Ah,
did
okay,
with
yeah,
us.
yeah. So
Yeah, that was
yeah,
hard.
it is come like it's come from our trauma phone training. It's a metaphor check, and it's that idea that and especially I found this with when I started the dads group is we would have set questions every week. It would usually, along the lines of how are things? Think of a positive moment with your child this week, and anything to get off your chest. But as we've already said, as we've alluded to, men don't always find it easy to talk. So what the response would be, yeah, I'm fine, everything's okay, and you wouldn't really get much back. So we use the metaphor check, and it gets the left and the right side of the brain, and gets more emotion, and gets them thinking of a particular thing to help them describe how they're feeling. So one we recently come up with, if you could think of a fairground ride or a thinking back, I first thing that comes to my mind when I say something like this is awkward. So I'm happy to go first. So if thinking of awkward this week is a bit like megaphobia. So things are, it's not the scariest ride. There's those few bits where it goes. But if anybody else has been on megaphobia, it rattles, and there's a few bits you're hitting the side and you're hitting it, and things you're not expecting to happen, and there's ups and downs, but generally things are going quite smoothly, and then there's a few bumps in the road, but that's what I'm feeling like at the moment. But yeah, feeling a bit of a high at the moment after this conversation, though. So that's how.
I'm loving the megaphobia reference, by the way. I'm missing awkward. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
I said it. I'm an awkward fan.
And then come up with another awkward ride for how you're feeling.
Does it have to be awkward related, Jack?
no, it
No.
doesn't have to be. You can go with
I'm
whatever.
gonna go first, Glyn, because I can't think of any.
Well, I've been racking my brain going awkward ride, and then I came up with the perfect one because I went for the scary ones. So I was like, nah, they don't fit right now. So treetops,
Yeah,
remember that
I
one?
like
So
I do.
yeah, I like it because it wasn't scary. It was just pure joy. No matter like when I was a kid, all the way up to when I was older, it was just
Same.
you'd go on
Yeah,
there
it
and it'd be
never-
like,
Yeah,
woo!
It was still good. It was still good. Yeah.
That's how I feel. I'm having a good week so far. Even though I've been ill, it's still a bit of woo. So yeah, treetops for me.
I've thought of one as well. I'm going to go with the pirate ship, and I think we all have our ups and our downs, but this week in particular, I've had to. We've been given a grant from the Books Council of Wales to get authors into the libraries and to link them in with local primary schools, which is amazing.
That's
But turns out, yeah, getting a lot of authors in is quite tricky in a way. But I am relishing the challenge. I'm feeling up to it, and I feel quite positive about it, even though it's somewhat chaotic, and I feel a little nervous about it. So even though I'm feeling those ups and those downs, I'm still enjoying and I'm still having fun.
Lovely.
Sounds
Beautiful,
exciting.
beautiful.
Right. Sounds exciting.
Thank you.
No, I love the
Yeah.
metaphor check-in, and I also think
Was it-
it's
I liked it. It was good.
yeah. You're gonna use it on the weekend.
See how it goes. Yeah, see how it goes.
Something.
Maybe.
I think it's something you can do with your mates as well. Like if you want to practice going a bit deeper, you could just reframe the same question of how you're doing, but just
I
use
quite
something
like
a bit
the
more.
good one.
Practice it with your kids, children. Brilliant.
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea as well.
Yeah, it is
Practice
actually
would
a
be
really
great.
good idea. Plus, it's good for
Normalise
us
it.
West Brillians to keep the awkward dream alive, right, guys? Long live awkward. It's up here. Always.
Always and forever.
Oh,
But I
it's
think
been a
that's a good.
pleasure.
Yeah, has been a
It's been
pleasure.
really good to see you again as well, by the way.
Yeah,
Let's
and
not,
you.
let's not make it another 15 years. Let's make it one. Let's make it less.
No, thank you very much, and thank you very much for all the amazing work that you do in our communities in Wales, and also just being a figure that is spearheading such an important part of modern day society. You know, getting men talking, creating places for men to find help when they need it. And hopefully we can pop some links in the comments for anyone looking to get hold of some of the things that both Jack and Steffan have mentioned tonight, for them to actually get out there in communities if that's something they're looking for. But diolch yn fawr am ddod.
Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch pawb, diolch Jack. Thank you all for listening.
What episode are we on, Steph?
We're episode 15.
Is it 16 or 15?
15. 100%.
15. You're the counter, aren't you?
Well, I'm second guessing myself now that you mentioned 16. I'm pretty sure it's 15.
16 or 15. We'll double check and correct you in the comments.
Everybody will have to watch next week's episode to find out.
Diolch yn fawr. Nos da.
Nos da.